and welcome to Development on Demand. The next few minutes will be filled with the teaching that includes leadership principles and mindsets that will help you grow as a leader individually as well as those you are leading. So grab a notebook and get ready for development that we believe is best served on demand.
Okay, this is the 7th Development on Demand when it comes to casting vision, galvanizing people, and implementing a dream that God has given you. And today, I'm going to talk specifically about what to do when the vision gets difficult, okay? What do I do when the vision gets difficult, and where do I go? What's the next step? Because let me tell you something, if it's a big enough vision, eventually it's going to be difficult. Whether you're the leader or whether you are a part of a team that has a big vision, it is eventually going to get difficult. And I'm going to title this one, The Very Answer to That Question Right There. What do you do when the vision gets difficult? Here is the title, and here is the answer. You go toe to toe. You go toe to toe. So it's actually originated from the professional sport of boxing, and it's when the two opponents come together and they stand so close to each other that their toes actually touch toe to toe. This phrase is used during the fight, post-fight, pre-fight, and it's a phrase that I'm pretty familiar with, not because I'm into boxing, but one of my favorite movies of all time is Warrior. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's an MMA movie and is absolutely incredible. And when you hear the phrase going toe to toe, or you go toe to toe, or toe to toe, you are quickly realizing that the idea of this phrase is that you are standing and fighting in a determined way. Okay? To stand and to fight in a determined way. So when I say, what do I do when the vision gets difficult? You go toe to toe. You stand and fight in a determined way. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of how to win that fight, how to win the fight of innovation, how to win the fight of culture, how to win the fight of creativity, how to win the fight of positivity, whatever it may be. And I don't know if any of you have ever been in a fight before, but I have only been in one fight, and it wasn't really a fight. I wouldn't say that I stood toe to toe with this person. However, I did win. And I remember being in 9th grade. I was in art class, and I had a guy sitting to the right of me who stole my piece of paper and was writing all kinds of things on it. And he had been doing little different things like that to me for multiple weeks. And I remember just something came over me in that moment, and I just reeled back and punched the dude straight in his nose. Immediate. I hit him in the perfect spot, apparently, not knowing that I had, but immediately blood was pouring out, and I'm talking, I ran out of that classroom as quickly as possible. And I remember being so afraid after class and after that day, thinking, oh my God, he's gonna freaking beat me up at the end of school. But that never happened. But that was the only fight that I was ever in. But when you think about going toe to toe, you are standing, you're fighting, and you're doing it in a determined way. There are two different ways to fight: going toe to toe or striking and running. Okay, and that's what I did in high school. I struck him and then I ran. But when it comes to going toe to toe, you are standing right there no matter how close that person gets, no matter how close that scenario gets, no matter how close the failure gets, no matter how close the difficulty gets. You're standing right there and you're going toe to toe with this with this thing. You're engaging head to head. It's this no nonsense argument that's happening. It's this idea that I am not playing any games whatsoever, but it is the reality of a close range interaction. And I harp on that piece because I think it's really important, because that question, what do I do when the vision gets difficult, I feel like is said by most of us a lot of times if we're honest with ourselves. That, man, this is tough, this is hard, this is difficult, I don't know if I can get through this. What do I do? And so I want to go to scripture on this. Mark 1, verse 9 through 13. It's just 4 verses. It'll be on the screen right there, but I'd love for you to highlight it in your Bible. It says, at that time, Jesus came from Nazareth in Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. And just as Jesus was coming up out of the water, he saw heaven being open and the Spirit descending on him like a dove. And a voice came from heaven. Here's the vision, right? You are my son whom I love, and with you I am well pleased. And then at once the Spirit sent him out into the wilderness. Woo! Ever get a big vision and then all of a sudden you're in wilderness? You're like, what the heck is going on? This does not look like the descending of the dove, right? The parting of the waters, right? It looks like the chariots coming to me. It looks like the wilderness. Verse 13, it says, and he was in the wilderness for 40 days, being tempted by Satan. In the Message translation, it actually says being tested by Satan. And I want to focus on that word tested, because tested in the scripture actually means to prove and to purify someone to see if they're ready for the next task at hand. To prove and to purify someone to see if they are ready for the next task at hand. Everything that you might be going through right now could be the thing that is proving to you and purifying you to see if you are ready for the next thing that God has on your plate, for the next thing that God has in your days, for the next thing that God has in your future. And the only way that you will ever be able to experience what God has for you is to go toe-to-toe with difficulty, is to go toe-to-toe with the battle, is to stand and fight in a determined way. But you gotta be willing to be tested, right? You gotta be willing to be tested. You gotta be willing to go toe-to-toe. But here's what I know, is that a lot of us won't even get in the ring. If we're using the analogy of this boxing match or MMA, a lot of us won't even get in the ring because of the things that we tell ourselves, right? It's like we are our own coach. I have a mantra that says, talk to yourself, don't listen to yourself. Right? Because it's so important that you talk positive things to yourself, because your mind, your natural innate sinful being will tell you all of the bad things. So talk to yourself, don't listen to yourself. But you are your own coach. But a lot of us won't even get into the ring because of the things that we tell ourselves, or because of the things that we are listening to. So what we've got to understand is that when you hear me say toe-to-toe, right, and without even knowing how to go toe-to-toe or how to stand and fight in a determined way, you have already discredited yourself from getting into the ring. And what I want to maybe focus on for the first few moments of this teaching is that we have to begin to tell ourselves the truth. We have to begin to tell ourselves the things that will just allow us to get into the ring. So how do I know if I'm even in the ring? How do I know if I'm even in the fight? How do I know if I'm even going to be able to engage in this battle? Well, it goes to the first development on demand, the first one. It goes to the first development on demand, the I in vision. And I talk about knowing your vision, knowing your calling, knowing your dreams, knowing your purpose, being able to define those things. But another way to say it is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? This has got to be the thing that grounds you no matter what situation comes, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how impossible it feels or seems. Depending on how deep your why is, that will determine the capacity of your calling. So how deep, how rich, how full, whatever way you want to look at it, how deep is that why of yours? Is it off the track the moment someone says something a little off color to you? You've got to be able to find and articulate what that why is. What is that vision for your life? What is the calling for your life? What is the purpose of your life? What is the dream of your life? And I think all of those things are different, and I talk about that in the previous Development on Demands, but you have to know what God knows, right? You have to know what God knows, and that is the truth, okay? So now, once you've kind of figured that out and delineated that, what you then begin to do is go, okay, now how do I go toe-to-toe? How do I stand and fight in a determined way? Here's 3 things. I'm gonna give you 3 things of how you go toe-to-toe. The first thing is you gotta have truth over empire. Truth over empire. Everything that God says about you has got to be over anything that you're trying to build. Empire is something that you're trying to build for yourself, right? So you say you got truth over empire, and this is important because it's got to be about what God's building over what you're building, okay? Because what God's building is kingdom-minded. What you're building is empire-minded. Okay, and empires eventually fall, okay? When it comes to building his kingdom, if you've read the Bible any certain or any amount of time, you understand that at the end of all of this, his kingdom will prevail. His kingdom will last. His kingdom will always be there. It will be victorious. So it's about what God sees versus what you see. That's the lens in which you look at this, okay? It's about his plan and not your blueprint, okay? It's about what he has in store for you, not what you think will be good in this season, okay? These are things that you have to begin to evaluate on whether or not you are putting truth over empire, or if you're putting your empire over the truth. Okay? And so what you're trying to do constantly is reject the empire and embrace the kingdom. I'm rejecting what my flesh wants. I'm rejecting what culture is telling me. I'm rejecting, I got to do this to get here. And I'm embracing the kingdom. And we all know, and when it comes to the kingdom, a lot of things kind of happen in reverse, right? The first shall be last and the last shall be first, right? Like, we've got to embrace a different way of doing things. We got to embrace a different economy. We got to embrace a different lifestyle. We got to embrace a different mentality or a mindset. And so if we believe in the scripture, his ways are higher than my ways and his thoughts are higher than my thoughts, okay, this is a part of it, right? This is a part of that. So when you wake up in the morning, what does that actually look like? Is it about your thoughts or is it about his thoughts? Right? Because it's a real nice verse to memorize or to say out loud and to, this is a mantra, but until you begin to live it out, you're going to be in trouble. So you got to make sure that there's truth over empire. That's the first step, going toe to toe. The second step, going toe to toe, is truth over entertainment. You are making sure that truth is over entertainment, okay? Are you trying to make something go viral, or are you trying to make someone go eternal, okay? Is it all about the views, the likes, the comments, the things, the accolades, the achievements, the whatever, right? Or is it about keeping people in the game? Is it about making people last? Is it about growing people, developing people? Is it about things that ultimately really, really matter? I think we can get in a really bad spot when we're asking this question a lot. Now, I don't think it's a bad question in the right time, but I have seen a lot of people use this question often, and we can kind of get misconstrued on this concept. But it's the question of what's the next best thing, right? It's like we do one thing and then we're like, okay, well all right, now that we've done that, fantastic. What is the next best thing? And here's what I want to let you get a little insight on is that innovation is temporary, but values are timeless. Why do I say that? When we think about what is the next best thing, I think we're trying to create this new thing. And we can almost like serve the God of new when I think God is more of the God of fresh, okay? And when I think about innovation, I don't think innovation is bad. However, I think it has a timestamp on it, okay? I think when it comes to values though, those things are timeless, right? And so you're trying to keep values, things that, again, a deeper sense, a richer sense, a fuller sense of value, right? You're trying to keep that value in a fresh state. So we might have the same value for 10 years, but it's like, how do we do that in a new way? It's not about new, it's a little more about fresh. How do we keep it fresh? What's a different way to talk about it? What's a fresh way to think about it? What's a fresh perspective on this value? And so I'm emphasizing the innovation versus value because I think when we think about what's the next best thing, we immediately go to innovation and we kind of like put value to the side. And I think you've got to be able to have the values of your life, the values of your ministry, the values of your organization at the core and at the forefront of everything that you do. And so questions that I ask myself sometimes, or that I ask my team sometimes, that could just maybe be some things that you utilize is, does creativity serve your content, or does content serve creativity? Right? You want to make sure that one is in front of the other. You want to make sure that, for us, we're saying content is the most important. When it comes to pastor preaching the word of God, we're saying that is the most important thing. And then our creativity is going to serve that, not the other way around. We're not going to go, oh, we have this great idea. How can I fit some content to serve that creative piece or that creative idea? We're not trying to get intertwined with that. So another question is your last message or your last meeting or your last directive coming from what you read in the Word, or the last thing that made you frustrated? Okay? This is helpful, especially if you're in the ministry world, because we can get frustrated a lot, and then we start talking to our people, getting upset with them or mad at them or frustrated with them, but we're really only mad and frustrated about one situation or two or three people, right? And then we start blaming the whole audience, and we got to be very aware of that. And so we want to make sure that we're seeking the truth over everything that we're doing. So we got truth over empire, truth over entertainment, and then lastly, truth over ego. Okay? Truth over ego. We have to realize that we're not the hero, but we're the guide. Okay? We're not the hero. And this can even be outside of ministry. Like, too many times, like, people, influencers, like, will get on camera, and it's just all about like, yo, you want to be like me? Well, these are the 6 things that I did. So here we go. And I'm like, yo, like, this is not the way that it was supposed to be, like, right? Like, and then we wonder, like, oh my goodness, why it's like such an easy downfall, or such a big downfall when someone messes up or someone does something out of sorts. It's like, well, because we kept putting them on this pedestal as the hero, as the people who are doing it perfect, and we as people are not perfect. And when you're in ministry and you have a faith, you can realize that it's a little easier for us to understand that, yeah, you know what, we're supposed to be the guides. Now, I'm not saying that to say that we're not bad at being the heroes. we can actually find ourselves being really good at being the heroes or presenting ourselves as the hero. But I think it's really important for us to understand that ego cannot be in the way when it comes to being to going toe to toe, to being able to accomplishing the vision while the vision is getting difficult. Okay, one thing that someone told me when I was 23 years of age when this happened, and I may have said this in a previous Development on Demand, but I talked about people need space. Teams need space. There has got to be a space where people are experiencing this concept, and I like to use space as an acronym, and this is what I have it as: starve pride and cease ego. Starve pride and cease ego. There has got to be a space on your team where that is happening, where pride is being starved and ego is ceasing. If you don't give that opportunity for people to engage in that, you are going to have a lot of egomaniacs on your team. And I remember at the age of 23, someone told me that, hey, you keep asking the question, what's next? Or what's the next best thing? Or where, okay, cool, this was great, but what's that? He said, look, put your head down. I think you're 23 years old. Put your head down. At 29, I want you to raise your head back up. Maybe ask that question. But for the next 6 years, put your head down, do your work, do what you're supposed to do, prep, get quiet with the Lord, learn some things about yourself, build the foundational things. And it was hard for me to take in the moment, but it also felt like it was the right thing. So I could actually almost let it sit for a little bit, even in the moment, as hard as it was. And then for the next few years, as I began to kind of live that out, I felt like it was one of the things that stuck with me the most, that I always try to be able to make sure we at least have those opportunities for within the team. Now, here's the deal. As a leader, I don't think it is your duty to make sure, all things happen for all people, okay? However, I do think it is your duty, a stewardship duty, to present those opportunities for people to engage in those opportunities, right? So, giving people space. Hey, this is gonna be a task that you don't wanna do. This is gonna be something that doesn't feel good. Hey, you don't get to travel on this shoot. Hey, I'm gonna hold the mic when I bring you up on stage and I let you tell this story. I'm trying to give you little practicals. Hey, actually, I want you to go the extra step and don't only just text me, but call me as well, and tell me how that conversation went. Wait, why do I gotta check in with you? Well, this is a conversation that we were having. I thought it'd be good to just keep me updated, and I don't want you to just text me because I know it's easy to text. I want you to call me, and I want you to tell me face to face exactly what happened and how it went. Now, they can decide if they don't want to do it, and that's completely fine. And as a leader, you gotta have to evaluate of what that looks like. But I think creating some of those moments really helps people understand the benefits of humility and really the lack of direction that pride and that ego presents to you, right? And the lack of direction that or really, let me say it this way, the amount of confusion that pride and ego can bring into a situation. And so when people start to, again, self-discover the power of humility, you start to realize the more and more that people are wanting that, and the people are yearning for that and yielding to that. And I really believe that when you do that, you are starting to create leaders who take the blame and give the credit. And man, there's nothing better than when you have a leader who takes the blame for something and who gives the credit to the team. There's something fulfilling. There's something that you create within your culture of the team that makes people go, you know what, I'll follow that. You know what, I trust that. You know what, I want to be a part of that. And so if you want to be able to go to toe-to-toe, you have to be able to put truth over empire, truth over entertainment, and truth over your ego. In essence, you got to put truth over everything, right? You could come up with a lot of things that spell out toe. I don't know if you noticed that, but all three of those spelled out toe. But at the end of it, it is truth over everything. And this is super, super important. And here's the deal. I know all of this talk of going toe-to-toe, standing and fighting in a determined way, right? Like there's this energy that's built up. It's like, yeah, you just keep fighting. You just you keep going. You don't give up, and you don't quit. And we're in this ring, and it's a battle. Okay, well here I want to make something really, really clear. I don't know how many of you are gamers. If you're a gamer, just like this video. If you're a gamer. But there are two different types of games. There's an infinite game and a finite game. This is what they call them. Infinite games versus a finite game. A finite game has a finality, okay? There's a finish to it. There is a trophy, an award, a medal, a championship. It comes to a place where you have achieved everything you can achieve. That is a finite game. Okay, then there's an infinite game. And the whole concept of an infinite game is that you're just trying to stay in the game. There is no end. It's just, it's just like, it's a lot like what Monopoly is, right? You're just like constantly playing over and over and over, and you feel like that never finishes. In fact, Monopoly is a finite game. But infinite game, you are just trying to stay in the game. That's exactly what leadership is all about. That's exactly what ministry is. You're just trying to stay in the game. You're trying to thrive in this game. And here's what I'm here to tell you as a leader, like whether you're leading a ministry, whether you're leading an organization, whether you're a kids director or youth pastor or lead pastor or whatever, we need you. The people need you. They want you. They need you. What we do is so serious, and it's more urgent than it has ever been, right? It's more urgent than it's ever been. So if the whole goal is just to try and stay in the game, I am reminded of one of my favorite phrases that my pastor talks about. Is he says the only true way to fail is to quit, right? The only true way to fail is to give up. It's to not come back. It's to not walk into those doors again. It's to not turn on the lights. It's to not start writing a sermon again. It's to not prepare for your message. It's to not take that person out to coffee. It's to not invest into the team. You have got to be able to do this in order to go toe to toe. And so that's exactly what you do when the vision gets difficult. It's a long way away to just say, keep fighting, keep going. You are here for a reason. You are in this spot for some reason. So keep going. Don't quit. You got this. Dig deeper. Dig deeper. And I believe that the best thing that you can do when it comes to vision getting difficult or vision getting tough or vision getting to a hard point is you just got to stand and battle and fight in a determined way. You're going to be tested. that's completely fine. The dove is descending, but the wilderness is coming. You got to stand and fight in a determined way. There are hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of people that are waiting and hoping that you'll continue to fight. And because you fight, someone else will see that and they'll keep fighting. So, I know that's a lot. I want you to download it into your spirit. Let God breathe on it. And I will see you for the last Development on Demand of this volume. I love you. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching Development on Demand. Today we learned about going toe to toe. So here are some questions for you to process with yourself or with other people on your team, and go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments afterwards. The first question we want you to process is, where is the vision getting difficult? And where do you need to go toe to toe? The second question we'll process is, which do you most need to put truth over? Empire, entertainment, or ego? And why? Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.